We have no chemistry. That was how my girlfriend ended our 6-month relationship. And sitting there afterward, angry, frustrated, replaying every argument we'd ever had, only one thought kept coming back to me. I don't know how I put up with that woman for 6 months. At that moment, I wasn't exactly thinking kindly about women, and then someone asked if the seat across from me was free. There are afternoons when you want advice. There are afternoons when you want company. That afternoon I wanted neither. I wanted coffee, a chair, and enough noise around me to keep my own thoughts from becoming too loud. So I sat at a small table outside a crowded café and watched people pass. Couples, friends, people laughing into phones. Everyone seemed remarkably pleased with their lives. Good for them. My coffee had been sitting untouched long enough for the foam to disappear. I didn't care. Then a shadow stopped beside my table. "Excuse me." I looked up. A woman stood there holding a coffee. She pointed at the chair across from me. "Is anyone sitting here?" "No." "Can I?" I looked around. Every table was full. Then back at her. "Why not? It's a free country." She paused, not long, just long enough to let me know she'd heard the attitude. Then she pulled out the chair and sat down. "No, thank you." Fair enough. I hadn't exactly rolled out a red carpet. For the next few minutes, we ignored each other. I watched the street. She looked at her phone. Exactly the arrangement I preferred. Then her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. Her shoulders dropped slightly. A long breath escaped her. She turned the phone face down. I watched the movement. Something about it felt familiar. Too familiar. A small, humorless smile came to my face. "Boyfriend." She looked up, not amused. I looked back at my coffee. A few seconds passed. "My mother." I looked at her. "Oh." Silence. I took a sip. She didn't. Then she asked, "Why?" I looked up again. "What? Why did you say boyfriend?" I gave a small shrug. The sigh. Her eyes stayed on me. I looked away. Another silence. Then, very quietly, "Men." I heard it. I turned back. "What?" "Nothing." She lifted her coffee. I waited. She didn't look at me. Neither of us spoke. I should have left it there. I didn't. "You said men." She finally looked at me. "Yes." "What is it with men?" She studied me for a moment. Then one word. "Judgmental." I gave a quiet laugh. Not because it was funny. She looked away again. And somehow that irritated me more. The conversation ended there. At least, it should have. A few minutes passed. The word came back to me. Judgmental. That's what she'd said. Judgmental. Interesting choice of word. I glanced at her. She was reading something on her phone now, apparently finished with me. Judgmental. She looked up. "What?" I turned the cup slowly between my hands. Interesting choice of word. She waited. I took another sip. "But I think it suits women better." She stared at me. No answer. Just a long, silent stare. I raised an eyebrow. Finally, she put her phone down. "Who are you?" "What? Defender of men?" "No." "Ambassador?" I almost smiled. "Just an observation." "About women?" "Yes." "All of them?" I didn't say all. "You didn't have to." I shrugged. She stared at me another second, then picked up her phone again. Unbelievable. "What?" "Nothing." "There you go again." "Doing what?" "Saying something and then pretending you didn't." She put the phone down again. "Fine. You want something?" "I didn't say that." "You've been sitting there for 5 minutes thinking about one word I said." "I wasn't thinking about it." You brought it back from the dead. I looked at her. She looked right back. Then she said, quieter, someone hurt you. My expression changed. She saw it. A tiny smile touched her face. Not kind, not cruel either. Satisfied. Interesting. What? My observation. I leaned back. You don't know anything about me. No. She picked up her coffee. But apparently that doesn't stop either of us. That one I couldn't answer immediately. She took a sip. I looked toward the street. For the second time that afternoon, the conversation died. Only this time, I wasn't quite as relieved. A few more minutes passed. This time, she broke the silence. Why? I looked at her. What? Women. I waited. You said judgmental suits women better. Experience. She gave a small nod. Of course. I frowned. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. No, go ahead. She looked at me for a long moment, then placed her phone on the table. Whenever someone says something ridiculous about half the human population and calls it experience, she paused. There's usually one person hiding behind the word. I stared at her. For a second, I had nothing. Then a smile came to my face. You've got men figured out pretty well for someone offended by generalizations. Her expression changed. The smile disappeared from mine, too. Neither of us spoke. She looked down at her coffee. Maybe I have experience. I nodded slowly. Of course. And for the first time since she'd taken the chair across from me, the silence between us didn't feel empty. I looked toward the street. Cars moved slowly past the café. Somewhere farther down the block, a horn sounded. After a while, I turned back. She was staring at me. The moment our eyes met, she looked away. I waited. When she looked back, I smiled faintly. Look who's judging now. Her face tightened. Like you're not. Nothing to judge. What does that mean? I picked up my coffee. All the same. Who? Women. She stared at me. All women? Enough. Enough for what? To stop being surprised. She gave a short, disbelieving laugh and looked away. What? Nothing. No, go ahead. She shook her head. You wouldn't like it. Try me. She looked back at me. What is wrong with you? Nothing. Didn't your girlfriend give you breakfast this morning? The word hit a spot. Girlfriend. I looked away. Only for a second, but she noticed. When I looked back, there was the beginning of a smile on her face. Oh. I said nothing. Break up? I looked toward the street again. That bad? Forget it. No. I turned back. Now she was interested. Tell me. I stared at her, then shook my head. Look at you. What? The excitement. Her smile disappeared. I am not excited. You absolutely are. I'm curious. That's a nicer word. Oh, come on. A man gets dumped and suddenly your afternoon gets interesting. I didn't say you got dumped. You were hoping. I was not. I gave her a look. She tried to hold mine. The corner of her mouth moved. There. What? That. She pressed her lips together. I'm not laughing at your breakup. You don't even know what happened. Exactly, that's why I'm asking. So you can judge? She thought for a second. Maybe. I laughed. There she is. Who? The woman who called me judgmental. She gave a small shrug. Fine, maybe a little. A little? Don't ruin it. For the first time, I smiled properly. She caught it. Her own smile appeared for a second. So? So what? What happened? I looked at her. Forget it. Oh, no. No? You've spent the last 20 minutes making statements about women. Observations. Of course. I rolled my eyes. She leaned forward slightly. You don't get to put half the world on trial and then hide the evidence. I looked at her. That was annoyingly good. She knew it too. Tell me. I looked down at my coffee. 6 months. You were together 6 months? I nodded. And? She ended it. Why? I hesitated. She said we had no chemistry. Her eyebrows lifted slightly. That's it? I looked at her, and just like that, I was irritated again. I was still trying to figure out how I'd put up with it for 6 months. She watched me. Put up with what? I hesitated. Everything became insecurity. If something bothered me, I was insecure. If I asked a question, insecure. If I wanted reassurance, insecure. After a while, one word could end every conversation before it started. She listened, then shook her head slightly. There is another side to that. Of course there is. No, listen. I did. Someone else's insecurity can become a job you never applied for. At first you reassure them because you care. Then you reassure them again, and again. Eventually you're explaining where you were, who was there, why you didn't answer, why somebody texted you. You spend your life proving you haven't done something you never did. I looked at her. That's control. It can become control. If I tell you something makes me uncomfortable, I'm not controlling you. No, but listening to your feelings doesn't mean I surrender my freedom to them. I didn't say surrender. I know. I'm saying there's a line. What line? She thought for a moment. Reassurance should calm insecurity, not feed it. If I reassure you today and tomorrow you need twice as much proof, we're not fixing anything. We're teaching the fear to ask for more. I stopped. Okay. She raised an eyebrow. Okay? That's good. A smile appeared. Write it down. Don't push it. She laughed. Then I leaned forward. But the opposite has to be true too. If someone you love tells you something hurts them, you don't get to dismiss it just because you don't agree. Maybe you don't change what you're doing, fine, but their feelings should at least matter enough to enter the conversation. They do. That's what I'm saying. You can cross every line, make someone question where they stand, and when they finally react, my voice had risen. Suddenly they're insecure, jealous, controlling. Anything that means you never have to look at what you... She raised one hand slightly, palm down. I stopped. What? Her eyes moved sideways. I followed them. 2 people at the next table were staring. So was an older man behind her. Oh. I sat back. Sorry. She was trying not to smile. I lowered my voice. When I continued, she leaned closer to hear me. I'm just saying, sometimes insecurity isn't born inside someone. Sometimes another person puts it there. She waited, then, just as quietly, and sometimes it was there before you arrived. I looked at her. That's not fair either. Loving someone shouldn't mean spending your life paying for what somebody else did to them. I thought about it, then nodded. Yeah. She looked surprised. That too. The waitress appeared. Another coffee? We both looked at our empty cups. She looked at me. I looked at her. Yes, she said. Yeah, me too. And fries, she added. I looked at her. Fries? We're clearly not leaving. That made me smile. No, apparently not. The waitress walked away. After a moment, I said, You talk about control like you know it. Her smile faded slightly. She looked at the table. He wasn't like that in the beginning. I waited. He was attentive, wanted me to text when I got home, asked who I was going out with. I liked it. It felt like I mattered. She paused. Then concern became expectation. If I didn't text, there was a problem. If plans changed, there was a problem. If another man happened to be there... She smiled without humor. Big problem. I said nothing. The frightening part was there wasn't one moment when it changed. It happened one reasonable request at a time. She looked at me. And eventually my life became something I was constantly explaining. The coffees arrived. Neither of us touched them. I would have left too. Her eyes stayed on mine. No defense of men? He was controlling you. She smiled faintly. Look at that. What? Growth. Careful. She laughed. The fries arrived. I took one. She gave me a look but didn't stop me. Maybe respect is the difference, she said. Between? All of it. If you tell me something hurts you, respect means I listen. It doesn't mean I obey you. I nodded. And if you listen to me, I don't get to turn my discomfort into rules for your life. Exactly. I reached for another fry. She moved the plate away. Those are mine. You ordered them after announcing we weren't leaving. I was speaking for myself. That's controlling. She stared at me, then laughed. I pulled the plate back between us. See? Compromise. You're impossible. Apparently. The conversation kept moving, not like before. We weren't trying to catch each other anymore. We were actually listening. At some point I said, I think people leave too easily. She immediately shook her head. I think people stay too long. Of course you do. And of course you think commitment means suffering nobly for 40 years. No. Commitment means staying when staying isn't rewarding you. She stopped smiling. I continued. Anyone can stay when everything feels good. If commitment only lasts while you're happy, attracted, understood, and getting everything you need, that's not commitment. She thought about it. I agree. I raised my eyebrows. But? She smiled. But there has to be a door. There has to be. Because commitment can't become a prison. No. And leaving isn't always failure. No. I thought for a moment. But the door shouldn't be the first thing you reach for. She considered that, then nodded. Fair. I smiled. Another miracle. Don't ruin it. Sometime later, she asked, do you think love is a feeling? At first, maybe. And later? It can't be only that. Nobody feels the same thing every day for 30 years. So what keeps it alive? Choice. She frowned. Only choice sounds depressing. I thought about it. Feelings are weather. Commitment is climate. She stared at me. That was beautiful. I smiled. Finally. I wasn't finished. I sighed. Of course. Climate changes too. I stared at her, then laughed. She laughed with me. I was still laughing when the waitress appeared beside us with a coffee pot. Without asking, she filled my cup, then hers. I looked down at it. Did we order these? No. The woman across from me started laughing again. The waitress smiled. I figured you two weren't going anywhere. She walked off. I looked across the table. She judged us. She nodded solemnly. Women. I stared at her. She lasted 2 seconds before laughing, and this time I laughed with her. Her phone was still face down. Mine hadn't left my pocket. There were empty tables all around us now. Neither of us seemed particularly interested in them. At some point, the conversation stopped needing a subject. One thing simply became another. Work became bad bosses. Bad bosses became ridiculous office rules. That somehow became travel, food, childhood, and the strange things parents continued doing long after their children had grown up. She looked at the phone she'd left face down on the table. My mother is going to think I'm dead. The protective one? The very protective one. Maybe answer her. She picked up the phone, typed something, and put it down again. That should buy me an hour. I smiled. Then I happened to look toward the street. Something was different. The light. I pulled out my phone and checked the time. I looked again. What? I turned the screen toward her. She leaned forward, her eyes widened. No. Apparently. She checked her own phone, then looked at me. 4 hours? 4 hours. She looked at the table. Cups, plates, napkins, then back at me. I was going to sit here for 5 minutes. I was going to finish one coffee. You've had considerably more than one. So have you. She laughed. The waitress appeared beside us. Anything else? We looked at each other. For the first time all afternoon, neither of us ordered anything. The bill, please. When it arrived, she reached for it. I got there first. Let me. No, we'll split it. I've got it. We both sat here for 4 hours. Please. She stopped. I wasn't joking now. I needed this conversation. Her expression softened. You don't know how much. She looked at me for a moment. I think I needed it too. Something about the way she said it made the words feel bigger than they were. I paid. We collected our things and walked out of the café. A few steps later, I stopped. She turned. What? I held out my hand. Sebastian. A beat. Sebastian Hayes. She looked at my hand, then at me. A smile slowly spread across her face. She took it. Isabelle. Then, almost matching me, Isabelle Laurent. I smiled. Nice to meet you, Isabelle Laurent. She laughed. 4 hours late, Sebastian Hayes. Better late than never. We started walking. Where are you headed? The subway. I'll walk you. She looked at me for a moment. Okay. It was strange how normal the next few minutes felt. We finally asked the questions people usually asked before discussing everything else. What do you do? Isabelle asked. I looked at her. Now you want to know? I had more important questions. Apparently. I told her. She told me about her work. We discovered we worked only a few miles apart. At the subway entrance, we stopped. And suddenly, after 4 hours of never running out of things to say, neither of us seemed to know what to say. Well? Isabelle said. Yeah. She adjusted the strap of her bag. I took out my phone. Can I get your number? She raised an eyebrow. 4 hours of interrogation wasn't enough? I may have follow-up questions. That sounds threatening. It probably is. She smiled and took my phone. A few seconds later, she handed it back. Isabelle Laurent. I called the number. Her phone rang. She looked at the screen. Sebastian Hayes. Now we're officially introduced, I said. Only took us 4 hours. She started down the stairs. Good night, Sebastian. Good night, Isabelle. I watched her disappear into the station. Then I headed home. That night I opened our conversation. I thought about writing something clever. For once, I decided against it. Thank you. A few minutes later, my phone lit up. Welcome. I smiled. The next morning, I walked into the office in a ridiculously good mood. Apparently, I wasn't hiding it well. I was halfway through my first coffee when a friend stopped beside my desk. He stared at me. What? Nothing. Then why are you staring at me? He looked me up and down. You're smiling. So? You got dumped yesterday. I remember. He kept staring. Another friend passing behind him stopped. What? He pointed at me. Look at him. The other one looked, then at him, then back at me. What happened? Nothing happened. You looked miserable yesterday. I was miserable yesterday. And today? I shrugged. Today is today. They exchanged a look. I turned back to my computer. What? Nothing. Good. I started typing. A few seconds passed. Then one of them said, It's disturbing. I looked over. What is? You. I laughed. Go do some work. They walked away, still looking back at me. I shook my head and returned to the screen. My phone buzzed beside the keyboard. I looked down. Isabelle Laurent. I smiled, then turned the phone face down and went back to work. Sebastian. I looked up. What? He pulled a chair over and sat beside my desk. Who was she? Who? Don't do that. Do what? The woman at the café. I looked at him. You saw me? We both saw you. Another voice came from behind me. Very clearly. I turned. He was grinning. You were miserable after the breakup. So? Next morning you're walking around here like you won the lottery. A few days later we find you having coffee with a gorgeous woman. I shook my head. She's a friend. They looked at each other. A friend? Yes. Of course. What? He leaned back. Nothing, Sebastian. I'm just trying to understand when you became a modern Casanova. I laughed. Get out of here. 6-month relationship ends. Few days later, mystery woman. There is no mystery woman. She's literally mysterious. We don't even know her name. I pointed toward the door. Out. They walked away laughing. Apparently word got around. Maybe someone else had seen us. Maybe one of my friends talked. Either way, by the following week, the news had traveled. My ex called. I looked at her name on the screen until the phone stopped ringing. A minute later, a message appeared. Can we talk? I read it, put the phone down. Then another message came. I heard you're seeing someone. I stared at that one a little longer. I wasn't sure why it mattered to her. More importantly, I wasn't sure I cared. I didn't answer. 2 days later, Isabelle and I were at a café a few blocks from my office when I heard a familiar voice behind me. Sebastian. I turned. My ex stood near the entrance. She'd seen me. Then she saw Isabelle. Her expression changed. She walked over. Wow. Her eyes moved between us. That was fast. I leaned back. Hello. She looked at Isabelle. And who is this? Isabelle Laurent. Isabelle gave her a polite smile. Hi. My ex looked back at me. So, 1 week? What? That's all it took? We're having coffee. Right. I knew that tone. A week earlier it probably would have irritated me. Now it didn't. She gave Isabelle another look. Well, I suppose you found your type. I smiled. Actually, you were right about that. About what? I wasn't your type. She folded her arms. At least we agree on something. I glanced across the street, a clothing store, and through the window I could see him. Black t-shirt, blue jeans. Perfect. I pointed. By the way, I think I found someone who's exactly your type. She frowned. What? That store. Go inside, turn right, black t-shirt, blue jeans. She stared at me. What are you talking about? Trust me, you'll love him. Her face tightened. She looked at Isabelle once more, then at me. You're unbelievable. She turned and walked away. Isabelle watched her go. Then she looked across the street. Who is it? I picked up my coffee. The mannequin. Silence. Isabelle slowly turned toward me. Sebastian. What? A mannequin? Think about it. No insecurity, no jealousy, no opinions. She can take him anywhere, dress him however she wants. He'll never complain. Isabelle tried to keep a straight face. She failed. That's terrible. You're laughing. Because you're terrible. Still laughing. She covered her face for a second. I can't believe you sent your ex to meet a mannequin. I took another sip. Sometimes you have to help people find their type. She laughed even harder. Welcome the cafe a little later. Isabelle was still smiling. I still can't believe you did that. You'll get over it. We walked another few steps. Then she glanced at me. So what is your type? What? You seem to have figured out hers. I smiled. I don't know. You don't know? I'm reconsidering. Since when? I looked at her. About 4 hours after a stranger asked if she could share my table. Isabel's smile slowly disappeared. Not because she was unhappy, she looked ahead. That's a dangerous answer, Sebastian Hayes. You asked. A few steps later, her hand brushed mine. This time, neither of us moved it away. If you enjoyed Sebastian and Isabel's unexpected conversation, subscribe to Forge Stories for a new story every day. And tell me in the comments, do you think chemistry is something two people build over time? Or is it either there from the beginning or not at all?